When someone first moves to Poland, the Biedronka supermarket seems amazing, and I was no exception. The prices, very cheap. Store availability, everywhere. It's open until 11 PM, when most Germans would already be asleep for 5 hours. Look, it's even got these cool self-checkout points, so you don't have to experience the displeasure of communicating with a fellow human being. What could possibly be wrong? Well, everything. Just kidding, not everything, but many things, which is what we're going to talk about today. For those new to the channel, I'm Gene, I moved to Poland 3 years ago, and I make videos about this beautiful country. When I first came here, I fell in love with Biedronka, but over the years, our relationship has soured. As time went on, the spark that we shared dwindled, and many issues have come to light since then. So let's talk about everything wrong with Biedronka. Now, before the true Polish patriots descend from their mountains to tell me to go back to my country if I don't like something, I shall remind them that Biedronka is not actually Polish. It is fully owned by a Portuguese company, so I can criticize it all I want. Checkmate, liberals. So, the first thing I dislike about Biedronka. Let's start with the pallets. Now look, when I go to the store, I just want to get my stuff and leave. What I don't want is to play some parkour game like Dying Light or Mirror's Edge. But that is what I'm always forced to do because this store always has aisles and shelves blocked by stocking pallets. I don't think I've ever seen a Biedronka which wasn't being restocked during shopping hours. So you end up having these constant obstacle courses or labyrinths. And getting to your item becomes this Death Note logic battle of calculating all the different routes. There is even a subreddit with 8,000 members dedicated purely to documenting these pallet obstacle courses in Biedronka. Your path is either fully blocked by pallets or blocked partially, but there is a Polish granny there taking 10 minutes to pick something from the fridge. You also have these huge floor washing machines going down the halls, together with workers transporting pallets. I don't know how this isn't a genuine fire hazard, and I heard fire departments actually find Biedronkas all the time for this. Like, the stores are always extremely cramped and have way less space compared to Lidl or Kaufland. Sometimes I think I may have Stockholm syndrome. When I enter a different store and see all the empty free space, I just get overwhelmed. The Biedronka backrooms start feeling cozy, like the store itself is giving you a hug and saying everything will be okay. Here, have this toilet paper plushie. Anyway, moving on, the workers. So to preface, I genuinely feel bad for the people working in Biedronka. They are clearly suffering from the overcrowding themselves and simply are not staffed enough to handle all of the workload. I suppose the owners know that people will come to the shop regardless because of the low prices, and so they don't really care about the understaffing. These workers unfortunately are always in the way when unloading products, but it's definitely not their fault, they're just trying to do their job. But it is true that they very often obstruct different aisles and products, and they will never make way for you, you will always have to make way for them, which makes sense. The worst thing is when you are at these self-checkout points and something goes wrong. The light turns red and you need one of the workers to come and scan their card in order for you to continue. Except sometimes you won't have a worker come to you for up to 10 minutes because they're just too busy doing something else. So you either stand there and wait like a dumbass or try to find someone in the store. One thing I will say is that despite all of this, the workers are still pretty nice to you. I never had an incident where a worker would be impolite to me, which is extremely common in my home country of Russia. Even in well-staffed stores, Russian cashiers and workers often allow themselves to be quite rude, but I suppose Polish culture just doesn't let that happen. The only times in Poland where service workers were rude towards me is when they were from Ukraine or something. Either way, moving on to the next section, food quality. I'd say this depends on the particular Biedronka that you go to, but I almost never buy fruits or vegetables there. It's extremely common for them to just be moldy, rotten, or damaged. I also have to be very careful with buying any fresh meat, because it happened countless times where I bought some chicken and realized upon opening it that it is slightly spoiled, despite still being covered by the best before date. It's extremely common to see dairy and fresh meat products just stay outside of the fridge on these pallets, and while it's safe for them to be there for some time, I guess it often happens that they are there for longer than allowed. The non-perishable items are usually fine, and many of them taste pretty good despite the low prices. The quality is obviously lower than the more expensive counterparts, but all of these products still have to follow EU food regulations, so you aren't getting full-on toxic waste in your food. But because Biedronka relies on a lot of private label items, it is more difficult to find specific brand products, which would be present in most other stores. Also, a little bit on the general quality of the store itself, it's extremely common for fridges to be missing doors, because someone broke them and no one gives a shit about replacing them. So you sometimes have these genius DIY solutions from the workers there. The store itself is usually pretty dirty as well, and overall it feels pretty nasty, especially when compared to other stores like Lidl. Anyway, moving on to the last point, and that is self-checkout. Now, these I actually like. You rarely have to wait in a queue with these, and they are very quick to use. However, I always have some anxiety before weighing items from the bakery there, as there is like a 30% chance that the AI will bug out and say that there is some issue with the item's weight. And as I said previously, you are then essentially stuck there until a worker comes over and scans their card for you. This happens to me so often that it is genuinely rage-inducing. And they have these automated voice lines which play after every action, and when you have 10 of these checkout points, it's just this constant noise pollution of them saying "Wprowadź kod artykułu lub zeskanuj kolejny artykuł. Wybierz formę płatności. Odbierz swoje artykuły oraz dowód zakupu z drukarki fiskalnej." I understand that these may be needed for blind people and stuff, who probably would not go to this store if they weren't blind, but there should be an option to just turn it off or for it to be off by default, like you still need to use the screen to make the payment and stuff. But yeah, while there are a lot of issues with these, they're probably the best part about the store, aside from the low prices. In conclusion, I think if you earn enough money, you should definitely opt for a different store, and only go to Biedronka if it's very close to you, and you only want to buy some non-perishable brand item. But otherwise, pretty much any other supermarket chain would be better. Most of these issues will not be improved because they are all there by design, to cut on as many corners as possible to lower the prices to their absolute minimum. There are also positive sides to the Biedronka experience, but they're definitely not worth the moldy vegetables, spoiled meat, pallet parkour, and issues with employees. Either way, thank you for watching. This channel, as per many requests, now has a Discord server, so for anyone interested, there will be an invite link in the description. If you're interested in more Poland videos, check out the rest of the channel if you want. See you next time, and cheers.